Hi, I'm Kathy with Borrowed Land Farm, and Ernie and I are going to help you learn how to inoculate shiitake logs today. I might say shiitake, but this will work for any wood-loving species that you can grow on logs, things like reishi or lion's mane or oysters. We're doing shiitakes today. First thing is we have a log right here. We have a bunch of white oak logs. White oak is typically one of the better woods for a lot of the mushroom species that grow on logs. The easiest way to get a hold of a bunch of logs is to call up the tree service. A lot of times they are removing trees from people's properties, and they'll be glad to give you some if you just come pick it up. Other equipment that we need. You need to have some kind of mushroom spawn. You may have bought some from us, or you can get it online. What we have today are dowels or shiitake plugs, and it's basically spawn that's been grown onto wood dowels. This requires less in the way of equipment to use, and it's one of the easier things to use. You may also have some sawdust spawn or even some grain spawn. But again, we're using dowels today. You need a way to drill holes in the wood, so we have a drill here. Ours has a 9.2 millimeter drill bit on it.
It's a collar bit. It's got a collar there that stops it from going into the log. This is specifically made for this, but you could also use a regular drill bit and clamp a hose clamp onto it to stop it at 1 inch of depth. That's the goal, is just to stop it at 1 inch of depth.
And we're using a 9.2 millimeter drill bit because the dowels we're using today are 3/8 inch dowels. If you happen to have another size of dowel, like a 3/16 or a 1/4 inch dowel, you may need to go with an 8.5 millimeter drill bit. So just make sure you watch out for that. Also, as you're drilling, Ernie's going to do the drilling for me. He already wears glasses, but if I were doing some of the drilling, I would be wearing safety glasses because occasionally sawdust does fly around and you don't want it in your eye. We also have a hammer. A hammer is good for hitting the shiitake plugs into the wood. And we have a way to mark what we are inoculating into the logs. So this is just a little metal garden tag. It says shiitake wide range, and then it has the month and the year, so May of 2019. We've got a nail to go through it, and we can just, at the end of this, hammer it into the end of the log. And it identifies the log. We also have some wax. So the wax that we typically sell is shredded soy wax. You can also use beeswax, cheese wax, toilet ring wax, whatever you have that will seal the holes after you inoculate the log.
We've already got ours. We already melted some down into this can, and we've got an applicator here with it. So this is melted and ready to go. If I need to touch it up when we're ready to actually seal the holes, we'll just heat it up a little bit more, but it'll probably stay melted. I've got enough in here that it'll probably stay melted until we get done.
So first, to know how many holes you need to drill in this log. I've already measured this log. It's about 51 inches. It's about just over 5 inches in diameter. This is a fairly long piece of wood. You probably wouldn't want it longer than this. Usually you have logs that are 3 to 4 feet in length and 4 to 6 inches in diameter. Larger than that, and it gets a little bit harder to handle, especially if you don't have quite the upper body strength like me. It's 5 inches in diameter, which means that you're going to want 5 rows of holes on it. So one way to do this, especially if you're nervous about getting the spacing right, is draw a pattern on this end of it that shows you exactly where you want the rows of holes to be. So I know that I'm going to have 5 rows of holes here, 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 and here. And that's where we're going to start drilling. So as we drill, we just drill 1 row of holes here. We'll drill a hole near the end. Then we go about 6 inches and we drill another hole in a straight line.
Ready?
Ready.
All right, so I'm going to start a couple inches from the end and drill my first hole. I just go in till the collar stops it. And so a couple inches from the end, and then about every 6 to 8 inches down from there. So I go just over a hand's width.
So what we'll do now is we just rotate the log, or if it's already in a good position, drill your next row of holes. When you drill the next row of holes, they're going to be offset from the previous row. So if the next row of holes is going to be down here, you're going to put that hole here, because it's between these two holes. You're going to put another hole here, another hole here. So it's going to end up being a diamond pattern around the log.
Okay, so I've got a hole here and a hole here, so I'm going to put it midway in between.
The more the merrier. So if you do have extra pieces of wood that sort of stick off, go ahead and drill a hole in it, put a plug in it. It's not going to hurt anything to have a few extra in there. So instead of boring you with drilling a bunch of holes all the way around the log, we'll show you how to plug and wax these holes. Just assume that we've already done this all the way around the log. So at this point, what we've done is we had a bag full of dowels, but this would be enough dowels for 12 to 15 logs. So in order to keep from putting our contaminated hands back into this clean bag, we can just put this clean bag back in the refrigerator for a while. We poured some of it out into a clean bowl, and we're just taking the dowels out of the bowl. So you can have a hammer or a mallet. You just line it up with a hole.
Just give it a little tap.
Hammer it in.
Tap it.
If there is the random grain attached to it from when it was first inoculated, from when the dowel was first inoculated, you can just wipe that off. Alright, so once you have put a plug into each of the holes on the log, just assume that we've done this all the way around the log, we're going to go ahead and put some wax over those holes. And the wax will just seal the hole. It's not meant to stay on there forever. It'll probably wear off within a few months. But what it does is it keeps other things from getting into that hole, so other contaminants or chipmunks that might dig into the hole attracted by the smell of the shiitakes. And it also keeps the holes from drying out a little bit. So we're going to cover those with wax. Again, this wax is already melted. We've got an applicator here. You can also just use just a cheap paintbrush. Now some people like to put wax on the end of the logs, but that's not necessary and it hasn't done very well for us, so we prefer not to wax the end of the logs. For a lot of reasons, including it doesn't seem to help with water conservation, and then if you do happen to want to water your logs, then they don't get water up from the ends. So the only thing left to do now is to mark the log. So again, I've got a tag, and it says Shi for shiitake, wide range, because this is the strain that we're using today will fruit in a wide range of temperatures. And then it has May 2019. Trust me, I know how to use it.
Doesn't look like it.
Another thing to note, this is just an aluminum garden tag with a hole in it. Write on it in ballpoint pen. The ink won't stay on it, but it makes a permanent indentation. So this log should be around for the next 3 to 5 years, producing mushrooms for us. So this will permanently mark it until it's time for it to just disintegrate into the earth. Other things to note, right now it's May. It's on the late side to be inoculating logs right now. This log probably won't fruit until next spring. Shiitakes usually take 9 to 18 months to develop, so it would probably be about 12 months in this case. What we're going to do with it after this is we're just going to go stand it up in our shiitake yard. If the weather gets very dry and we feel like it would be necessary to water our garden, we'll also just come out and water the logs a little bit, just like you're watering your garden. And aside from that, just watch and wait and enjoy your shiitakes.